On a cold December night in 1978, 6 masked men walked into an airport cargo building and walked out with a fortune in cash. It was the largest cash robbery in American history. Nearly $6 million gone in minutes. The plan was almost perfect. But in the months that followed, one by one, the men who pulled it off began to vanish. Welcome to Curio Hour, where we uncover the strange, the unsolved, and the unforgettable. Today's story: the Lufthansa heist. At John F. Kennedy Airport in New York, the German airline Lufthansa ran a cargo terminal. And through it passed something very valuable. Each month, American money that had been spent by tourists and soldiers overseas was flown back to the United States in cash. Untraceable used bills sitting in a vault at the terminal, waiting to be processed. Millions of dollars with almost no one watching. It was the kind of secret that, in the wrong hands, could be worth a fortune. And those hands belonged to a worker at the terminal, a man deep in gambling debt who knew the schedules, the vault, and the routines. Desperate, he passed what he knew to the people he owed. And word of the cash reached one of the most feared men in New York. His name was Jimmy Burke, an associate of the Lukey's crime family, known on the street as Jimmy the Gent. He was charming, generous, and utterly ruthless. A career criminal who had spent his life around hijacked trucks and stolen goods. And he understood at once that this was something far bigger than anything he had ever done. A clean shot at millions in untraceable cash. The kind of score that men in his world only dreamed about. Burke assembled a crew. Hardened, experienced criminals, each given a role. Thanks to the inside man, they knew everything. The layout of the building. The location of the vault. Which doors would be open and exactly when. They knew that in the early hours, only a handful of employees would be on duty. And that the police were far away. They chose their night. And they rehearsed until every step was second nature. On the 11th of December 1978, in the dead of night, they made their move. A black van pulled up to the Lufthansa cargo terminal at around 3 in the morning. Inside were 6 men, armed and masked. They moved fast and with total precision. They entered through a door the inside man had left unlocked and rounded up the night staff. The employees were calm, controlled, and herded together. The robbers knew each man by name and knew exactly who could open what. There was no panic and no real resistance. The gang were in complete command. They knew this building better than the people who worked there. They forced their way into the vault room, and there it was. The reason for everything. Stack upon stack of cash, sealed in cartons. More money than most of them had ever seen in one place. They loaded it into the van, carton after carton. Around $5 million in cash, and nearly $1 million more in jewelry. Almost $6 million in total. In 1978, an almost unimaginable sum. The whole operation took barely an hour. No shots fired. No one seriously hurt. A near-perfect crime. As they left, the robbers gave the staff a warning and a deadline. If the police were called too soon, there would be consequences. Then the van pulled away into the dark and disappeared into the streets of New York. By the time the alarm was finally raised, the gang was long gone and the money with them. The FBI descended on the airport. The story exploded across the headlines. The biggest cash robbery the country had ever seen. And yet the investigators had almost nothing. No reliable witnesses. No money. No names they could prove. Jimmy Burke had pulled off the perfect score. But now he faced the most dangerous part of any heist. The aftermath. Because a secret is only safe if the people who know it stay quiet. And Burke did not believe in trusting people to stay quiet. In the weeks and months that followed the heist, something chilling began to happen. The men who had taken part and the people connected to them started to disappear. One was found in his car, another in a meat truck. Others simply vanished and were never seen again. Some had drawn attention by spending the money too soon. Others simply knew too much. To Burke, they were all loose ends. One by one, he is believed to have had them silenced, erasing his connection to the crime and keeping more of the money for himself. Over the following years, the bodies of those tied to the heist continued to surface across New York. It became one of the deadliest aftermaths in the history of American organized crime. And yet, for all the violence, the law could barely touch the men responsible. At the time, only the inside man, the worker who had leaked the secret, was ever convicted for the robbery itself. Jimmy Burke was eventually sent to prison, but for other crimes. He died behind bars, never charged with masterminding the heist. Decades later, the authorities tried once more, putting an aging mobster on trial in connection with the case. He was acquitted. And the money, almost none of it was ever recovered. Nearly $6 million in untraceable cash simply melted away, into debts, into pockets, into the underworld. The Lufthansa heist became a legend, immortalized years later in one of the most famous crime films ever made. A perfect robbery, undone not by the police, but by the greed and fear of the men who pulled it off. And a fortune that to this day has never been found.